Impenetrable actually is a work that I made for an exhibition at Beirut Art Center in 2010, and it consists of a cube made out of barbed wire rods. The cube is made of rods that hang from the ceiling. It's 285 centimeters by 285 centimeters, and it hovers above the ground about 10 centimeters. And this one is called Impenetrable S version because it's a smaller version of an earlier one I made the year before, which was 3 by 3 by 3 meters. And the reason why this one is a bit smaller is because the ceiling at the Beirut Art Center was a bit lower, and I needed to have a certain distance below it and above it. So I decided to make it in a slightly smaller version. So it has this beautiful ethereal feeling about it because it's very light and airy, and it sort of hovers above the ground as if it's levitating. Yet it's made of material which has a lot of heavy connotations, which is barbed wire. As you walk around, there's a kind of phenomenological thing that starts happening because you get this moire pattern as you walk around, and there's this very pleasant kind of interaction of the rods together. At the same time, there's also that unpleasant feeling that if you walked through it, you would get to a lot of harm. And so I actually like this kind of juxtaposition of something pleasant, unpleasant, beautiful, dangerous, or kind of just threatening. Of course, it's not dangerous because nobody's going to walk through it, but it's just the idea of danger. You can imagine yourself what would happen to you if you walked through. So the first time I thought of this work was for an exhibition at the Querini Stampaglia Palazzo in Venice, where I was having a solo exhibition in the context of the Venice Biennale in 2009. And I really wanted to show a very big cube inside a space there and make it look like it's impossible for it to be in that space because it's so huge. But at the same time, it had to be dismantleable, so you could actually get it through the door. So I searched and searched and searched, and I thought, of this idea of hanging the rods from the ceiling, and therefore, they can be taken down one by one. And as I was thinking about this hanging, I sort of remembered that there's a Venezuelan artist called Jesus Rafael Soto, who makes these cubes with very colorful kind of rubber tubes that hang usually from a structure made of metal. Sometimes they're outdoors, and they're really inviting. People actually can go in and enjoy sort of walking through and having their body sort of touched by all these colorful tubes. So that's where the title comes from. It's a reference to the work, but of course at the same time a warning that my cube is impenetrable, because if you do penetrate, then it's bad news. And of course I used barbed wire because it's politically charged. It's one of those materials that comes with a ready-made, if you like, sort of connotations and meaning. And I often like to use materials of that kind because with them there's already a kind of conventional set of ideas, if you like, that you can explore and contradict or go with or against and push people in two different directions at the same time. And this is the kind of thing I quite like to play with, this kind of attraction, repulsion, fear and fascination, and all those things. And in that case, it actually functions very well. I remember that I used barbed wire in the 80s when I was doing mostly performance and video work. And in that case, I did a performance in 1986 in the context of the Expo 86, which is like an international world fair. That particular expo was concentrating on transport and communication, and was really trying hard to show this kind of global village that we're all, this kind of easy flow of people and information across the globe. So of course I wanted to do something that contradicts this idea. So what I did was to create this big piece in a space where I covered the entire floor with coils of barbed wire that were crisscrossing the floor. So there were these country signs, you know, all over the space in between the barbed wire, and I was stepping over it to get to these different countries. So it's a very simple metaphor. And as I was doing that, sometimes my skirt would get caught in the barbed wire, or my leg would get scratched a little bit. And what was happening is that I had connected the barbed wire to a pickup or a contact mic that was connected to a sound system. So anytime any little vibration happened in the wire, it was like a thunderous sound. It was really, you know, booming all over the space. So you could tell, even if you were not in the space, if you were next door, where there was a conference happening about this issue of you know, communication in the world or whatever, you know, you could hear it and you would know that I got caught in the barbed wire. So it was quite an interesting performance. I feel like I should be doing it again now, you know. Anyway, so that was the first time. It was 1986. And then in 2008, I made a cube with barbed wire. It was called Cube 9 by 9 by 9. And basically, it was 9 cubes by 9 cubes stacked on top of each other. And the height was almost my height, or just over my height. So it was quite a large cube. And the title again here refers to the work of Sol LeWitt, who makes a lot of constructions of that kind where he has stacks of cubes, but usually very minimal cubes. And again here there was this paradox of using a material that is not so harmonious, if you like, and couldn't be sort of remain abstract and non-referential, if you like, because it sort of refers to, you know, conflict and war and, you know, barriers and borders and that sort of thing. So these were the two instances where I used barbed wire before, and that culminated for me in the work called Impenetrable, which I view as a very profound piece for me, because I like, in that piece, I feel like I've got that balance right between something that's very beautiful, elegant, and ethereal, at the same time having these connotations, but also how it works in the space and how it affects you when you walk around, and all the different views you get when you're circulating. So it's a very, I don't know, eloquent piece in many ways, and I quite like it.